Your Uncle Basil's got a puzzle. It's a code, I think. Can you come round and help him out?
Code? I wish Jennifer were here. She really loves that kind of thing. Relax, Nigel. We'll be right down.
Ah, Jake. A friend of mine is writing a book about the Blitz, when the Nazis bombed London 50 years ago, during World War II. He sent me this old letter he found. Have a look. The letter my friend found was written by Roscoe Fishwick to his sister Fiona. Like many children, Roscoe was sent to live in the farms and villages outside of London during the Blitz, but Fiona stayed in the city. The best thing about the letter is that it contains a message that Roscoe wrote in secret code. I've done some calling round and found where Roscoe Fishwick is now. I'd love it if you two went over there. Maybe he'll remember the secret he told his sister so many years ago.
This is the old letter that Roscoe Fishwick wrote to his sister. Here's the secret code that Roscoe left. Each of these little figures must stand for a letter. They're like little pictures of guys with flags. But we'll need some kind of key to the code he used before we can decipher it. Let's keep our eyes open. Uncle Basil said Roscoe Fishwick ran a little tea shop here on Quaint Street. I think that must be him over there.
A letter of mine to Fiona? Why, that does bring back memories. Painful memories, actually. You see, the Blitz cost our family quite a lot. I was 9 years old during the Blitz. I still remember watching the airplanes fly over the city, and the houses all turned to rubble, and the sky black with smoke. At night there were searchlights and flashes from the guns and bombs. My mother was so brave, but she was crying at the same time.
In your letter, you talk about a big house and Uncle Jack's marbles. What's that all about, Mr. Fishwick?
That's an interesting story. When the bombing started, people began sending their children off to the country. Some people we didn't even know offered to take me, so off I went, to a place called Malford Manor. My mum gave me Uncle Jack's marbles, and told me to keep them safe. They were actually precious gems, called Beryls, that my Uncle Jack got in South Africa, worth quite a bit of money, a small fortune actually. I was afraid that Hitler, the leader of the Nazis, would get the Beryls, so I hid them somewhere in Malford Manor. The trouble is, I'm afraid I've quite forgotten where. They're still there, somewhere.
Thanks, Mr. Fishwick. Maybe we can find those missing barrels for you. Come on, let's grab the next train out to Marlford Manor. This museum has a special exhibit called the Blitz Experience. It helps people understand what London was like when Germany and Britain were at war in the 1940s. Maybe they have some information about codes too. Marlford Manor is where Lady Edna lives. Uncle Basil phoned ahead to let her know we were coming. To get to Marlford Manor, we take the train south toward Brighton.
Welcome to Marlford, Jake. You remember Julia and me, I hope. Are you dreadfully tired? How nice of you to visit. We do hope you will help dear Mr. Fishwick find his Beryls.
So you seem to know all about Mr. Fishwick, Lady Edna.
Of course. I inherited this manor from my mother in 1972. She and Roscoe's mother searched the place many times for the Beryls, but could never find them. It's become a kind of legend. I'm afraid it's quite a big place, and the bag of Beryls is quite small. But money isn't everything, as Roscoe said the last time he was here. He's right, of course.
Why doesn't someone ask Fiona Fishwick? According to the letter, she also knows where Roscoe hid the Beryls.
Oh dear. Didn't Mr. Fishwick tell you? I'm so sorry. Fiona Fishwick is dead, dear. She was killed in the Blitz.
Stay away from the Queen, please, Master Eagle. It is a beautiful plant prized by Lady Edna. Do be careful of its delicate flowers.
Oh, don't be a badger, Julia. They won't spoil our beautiful Queen's tears. We planted it years ago, just after we moved here in 1972, and Julia and I both love it to pieces, don't we, Julia?
Julia, do you have any idea where Mr. Fishwick might have hidden Uncle Jack's marbles when he was a boy?
No, Master Eagle.
Our Uncle Basil has a piece of paper with code on it. It has funny symbols like stickmen with flags. Do you have any idea what that might mean?
Semaphores, Master Eagle?
Semaphores? What are they, Julia?
An old kind of military code, Master Eagle, used by ships to signal one another. Perhaps one of Mr. Saltcoat's texts in the library might tell you more about them. The library is right this way. You'll find the book you want over on the far wall.
This book about military communications is pretty old. It covers telegraphing, signaling with mirrors, radio, and semaphores. Look, there's some writing in here in a lovely script. To Roscoe, with much love from your sister Fiona. So Fiona knew all about semaphores. Jennifer told me they called them keys because you use a key to unlock a secret message, just like you use a regular key to unlock a door. Here's the key I think we need. In semaphore, you hold a flag in either hand. How you point them signals a letter. They look a lot like the mystery drawing we got from Uncle Basil. There's a copy of the Semophore key in our Eagle Eye Handbook. Let's look again at Roscoe Fishwick's code. It's a lot easier to unlock a secret code when you have the key. Can you figure out what the message says using the Semophore Code Key in your Eagle Eye Handbook? You're right. The message says, at the foot of the queen. Which queen did he mean by that, I wonder?
I think a stroll in the garden is a lovely idea.
Wow, they don't have gardens like this back in Ridgeview.
Have a poke about, darlings, and if you find Mr. Fishwick's Beryls, do give us a shout.
I think I've seen this tree before.
I'm not surprised. That's a yew tree. It's a celebrated tree in England. They used to make longbows from yew wood, and it's a superb tree for hedges and topiary.
Topiary? Isn't that a kind of pudding?
No, dear. Topiary is the name for shrubs carefully shaped to look like people, objects, or animals. It's almost as if a gardener carved the shape out of a bush by trimming it carefully. They are like living statues. I think this tree was trimmed to look like something once upon a time. Some kind of chess piece, as I recall.
A chess piece. I wonder which one. A rook? A bishop? A queen?
Personally, I have always fancied that the Beryls are under this knight. I suppose there's no really good reason to think so, though.
Lady Edna, we have a question. When Roscoe Fishwick's mother found out he had lost the Beryls, was she really upset? Did he get punished?
I don't think so. Everyone knew he was just trying to help. These days the Fishwicks just kid each other about it. Worse things happen in war than just losing some money.
Lady Edna, what's that funny tower-like building?
That's a birdhouse for doves. We call it a dovecot. But it hasn't had doves in it for 100 years. When my mother first moved into this house, it was a huge beehive. She couldn't stand the bees, so the beekeeper came and moved the queen bee and all her little workers off to some other manor. That was many years before the war. Now it's empty, but I think it looks charming in the garden, don't you?
Let's cheer up Mr. Fishwick with some good news. I think we may help him find his lost Beryls, thanks to his sister's letter.
I've been trying once again to remember where I put Uncle Jack's marbles. I brought out these old photographs to help me remember.
Don't feel bad, Mr. Fishwick. We'll help you find the Beryls. Those old photos look very interesting.
Here's a picture of me at the time, out in the manor garden. This was taken in the fall of 1940.
Yes, that's the garden we visited at Marlford Manor, all right. It looked different back then.
And I also wanted to show you a picture of my sister, Fiona.
We're very sorry that she died, Mr. Fishwick.
It was many years ago, but I still remember her and miss her. She worked at a military office in London, coding and decoding messages. It took a direct hit from a bomb, and she was killed. I think that if you ever do find those Beryls, I'll use the money to start a program to promote peace. I think she would have liked that.
I think we have all the answers we need to find the Beryls. Pick the clues that show where they are hidden. barrels from the Blitz were buried under the yew tree. The first thing we needed to do was solve young Roscoe's cipher. He found out that the code was really semaphore, a system of pointing flags in different directions to send messages between ships. When we solved the code, the message read at the foot of the queen. Now which queen was young Roscoe talking about? We knew it couldn't be the queen's tears shrub inside the manor. It was planted many years after the war, in 1972. When we heard that bees were once kept in the birdhouse, that seemed to be the answer. Roscoe could have put the barrels at the foot of the queen bee, but the bees were gone long before the war. In this old photo, what do we see behind Roscoe? A tree shaped like a chess queen. That must be the queen he meant. We told Mr. Fishwick to dig around the foot of the old yew tree, and...